Warriors. Welcome to the Warrior Enclave with Bebe and Toro, where we shatter our silence, share our stories, and believe women. Period. Today we're going to be talking about parental alienation. I feel like this is a topic that doesn't get enough attention, given what it actually really is. And what is it? Let's start off by defining it. So parental alienation is when one parent intentionally displays unjustified negativity toward the other parent, aimed at the other parent in front of their children or child, in an attempt to damage that child's relationship with the other parent. And this is a very serious thing. It can occur within a relationship while both parents are still together, or it can occur after the relationship has ended. And it looks different in both scenarios, and we're going to touch on that a little bit. But this is, it's a very serious thing because it's actually a form of emotional child abuse, because one parent is essentially brainwashing and manipulating that child warping the child's mind, grooming them to hate, and not just hate anybody or a tribe or a race or sexuality, but to hate their parent.
Their primary caregiver, usually.
Usually their primary caregiver. And it is something that can have like devastating effects on a child for the rest of their life. There's even like a condition, parental alienation syndrome, that children display when they have been victimized by this. And it is something that it's actually criminal. The recommendation from the experts is that if you are aware of a child who is being subjected to this, that case needs to be referred criminally. It's a crime to do this. And it's because of how serious it is, how serious the effect it can be on the child. Now, if you guys have been following us in the Warrior universe, from the podcast and even I think from our Instagram live and then from previous episodes of the Warrior Enclave here, we've shared that Bebe and the rest of our family are currently undergoing or enduring that. So just a quick high level. There was a jurisdiction case in Canada that ended up being the judgment that came out was that the children a return order was given for the children to go back to Nigeria. Bebe declined returning with them. And ever since, essentially, parental alienation commenced. Initially there was absolutely no contact, and there was a little bit of rigmarole with the lawyers. I think maybe we got like 3 instances of under 30 minutes of communication, and then it ceased from there. So right now it's been months, like we haven't seen or heard.
Last year.
Yeah, from last year. We haven't heard from them at all this year. And like I said, it's not just Bebe, it's the rest of her siblings, it's our parents as well, not seeing their grandparents, even though they are in the same country right now. And just to bring it even into a cultural context, like we're Nigerian, we're Yoruba, we've said that before over and over again. And as you'll find with most indigenous cultures, it is not, they're not usually individualistic. And it's no different for Yoruba culture. Like a child is raised by the village. And the village, honestly, let's be real. It usually involves the women and femmes in the community because, the men are supposed to go out and work and earn.
I mean, aside from that, they're
also not reliable. They're not even like, they're an extra factor. They're not even like really thought about when it comes to like childcare and caregiving. It's the women who are hands-on, who are in the compound together, cooking for all the kids, raising the kids, breastfeeding each other's kids. Like it's women and femmes. So like, from a cultural context, to do this is
like from the cultural context, like what's the phrase? Is it
Iyalo Lomo? Exactly.
Iyalo Lomo.
In Yoruba, we say that Iyalo Lomo, which means it is the mother that has the child. The child belongs to the mother. So to do this is especially egregious in Yoruba culture because just being an omoluabi. I think we'll put a little
Yeah.
translation there for what that concept is. It's like it's out of line of that. And also, I guess Nigeria is such a patriarchal, misogynistic country that men often get a pass for engaging in this,
For destabilizing families.
for separating children, especially like on the basis of gender. You cannot put like, we can't like not talk about that, the gendered layer there with the way girl children versus boy children are valued and esteemed in the society. So you will have fathers who would even be like, okay, I'm taking my sons, and then they'll discard the woman and the girl children.
Like from my own perspective, like, see, let me tell you guys, I can almost bet my top dollar that if I had 3 girls,
I mean,
these people would not have pursued me the way that they did. They would not have yanked my breastfeeding baby from me the way that they did. But because I have 3 boys, which in true misogynistic, and I'm sorry, it's just very ras thinking, very ras thinking that these people have. They now did what they did, yanking the children from their mother, not letting the children have access to their mother, their primary caregiver, or the person that has raised them since birth. So to me, like, again, I look at all of this, right? And yes, it is very disgusting to my spirit, and I am utterly repulsed by people that do this kind of mess. Okay. One, I've never seen them get away with it. It doesn't matter how long. The karma always comes to bite them in the butt. It's just that simple. But then 2, we just cannot separate the hurt that is the unnecessary hurt that is inflicted on these vulnerable people.
I feel like we really need to emphasize again that not like it is child abuse to do this, and it is a violation of children's rights to not grant them access to one of their parents.
Like, I have to be very, very clear here. People need to understand that my children are minor. They are 5 and under. My baby was not even allowed to turn 1 with me. Like, these are babies, okay? So again, for me, honestly, I don't know how any of this is going to turn out. I don't know how much hurt will still be inflicted in this arena. But I think this topic is very important to bring up, as painful as it is for me to even discuss here on this platform, because so many women are suffering. And you know what? To even piggyback on a point that you made, which is in terms of parental alienation, that, sometimes it happens within the context of a relationship, sometimes it happens after. I'm here to tell you that if you even see it happening after, it was probably always happening. Even when you were in that relationship. Parental alienation looks like it takes on many different faces. Some of them can be extreme, like in my situation where I have been cut off from seeing, speaking, having access to my children for months. Some of it can look like just the way they talk to you in front of your children, the way they try and paint you and frame you as this incapable, bumbling idiot.
I think the bottom line is that if you are in a partnership as a woman or a femme and you have children and you are being abused,
that is parental alienation.
Exactly. Parental alienation is automatically going on there. There's no way, the best way to love your children is to love their mother. Love her. And if you don't, the second that you're hating her, your misogyny is coming out, you're abusing her while also using sweet mouth to the children, they pick up on that dynamic, they pick up on that energy. And again, it has devastating effects down the line.
So many of us have seen these kinds of cases play out where we see the mother being the family scapegoat. The mother is the husband's scapegoat, but then the children too are now scapegoating their mother because they've learned to. Because it's just human behavior.
You modeled it.
You modeled it. You're living in a toxic, abusive environment. Nobody wants to be the weakest link there. Nobody wants to be the scapegoat. The mother is the easiest scapegoat there, and the children very quickly they learn their role. They know that the more poorly I treat this woman, the more the more I scapegoat her, the more favor I can get from the actual abuser. Do you get what I'm saying, guys? Like, and that's why instances like the Osinachi situation, like her story was just so heartbreaking. It was very triggering for me, to the point where after all these years of abuse now, and her children growing up in that, the stories that were coming out that we read about were to the point where her children were beating her up on demand command. That is...
It's gross.
Don't joke with this parental alienation thing. It will turn into a three-headed monster that you cannot recognize. And by that time, it will be too late.
All right, so we're just going to shed some light on different ways that parental alienation can present, starting with when both parents are still together. So that's like within the relationship, within the marriage. As we alluded to earlier, just abusing your partner in the home environment in front of the children, that is parental alienation. So cutting her down, verbally abusing her, physically abusing her, emotionally abusing her, making her modeling scapegoating your partner to your children. They pick that up and they grow to much more easily disrespect and scapegoat their mother as well. Mm-hmm. Another way that it can present is to always throw that partner under the bus, or blame them for when things go wrong or not according to plan, even when like it's just something, even if it's just coincidence or a consequence of something else.
Or maybe your children want something and mommy has already said no.
Right.
Rightfully so, right?
Police and
yeah.
As fun parent, non-fun parent, always leaving the saying no to one partner, always making it seem like they're the ones who are ruining the fun. The ones, or like when you, like you said, when the mother has already said no, then you undermine her, and either say yes, and then,
it's not even to say that, cause sometimes I don't want it to be as if, like another parent can disagree.
It's not that, it's the intentionality behind it.
Sometimes you find that these abusers, they are purposefully saying yes, just to undermine what their wife has already said, what their partner has already said, So yeah, it's certainly...
Or they do it to ingratiate themselves to the children, again, in a bid to damage the relationship with the other one. Sometimes it's envy. Sometimes you'll find a man is envious of the closeness that a mother has with her children by virtue of being the primary caregiver. And rather than stepping up the caregiving, so that they can also then draw close to the children, they start to lash out
at everybody.
Scapegoat the mother.
Even
just
scapegoat the children.
That. Exactly.
To the point where the children start to notice themselves being punished every time they have a great, time with their mom or a great experience with their mom, or they have an especially bonding time with their mom. Sometimes that's when the house is hot. That is especially angry. So the children learn to modulate their own behavior. Then they start pushing their mom away. They don't want to be as affectionate in front of daddy because,
Or sometimes they will specifically like seek out the children and punish them, torture them unwarrantedly, just to get at their partner, because they know their partner like usually love and value their children, so they objectify the children too, and then use them as tools to punish the partner just out of the blue for nothing, because they know that it'll hurt them, it'll harm them, and to just exert that control and have them be helpless and just all that sick stuff.
So like, again, when we say staying in an abusive relationship, these are the ways in which your children now then become pawns and a part of the abuser's tool to abuse everybody in that house, you included. Everybody gets hurt. Like, I don't even want to even do as if I'm bringing some new concept here. We all know. Some of you are lucky. maybe you haven't gotten into any relationships, but from what I have seen from people who have messaged me, people are starting to even understand their own family dynamics. The breakfast that their mother chopped and the roles in which they played in her abuse. A lot of people have been messaging me and it's like now my life makes sense. Like now I understand the family in which I grew up in, you know? So this thing, be very, very careful when you tangle with abuse, when you feel you can manage it. It is a disgusting thing and it will rear its ugly head every single time. And it will be always out of control. It will always be out of control. Do you understand? So, thank you for highlighting those ways in which parental alienation actually happens within the relationship. But of course, as we know, the worst of the abuse actually happens when you get the strength and the courage to actually leave the relationship. This is where you really, really see, you know, the nonsense that is this abuser. So some of the ways in which parental alienation happens after you've left the relationship, especially within the Nigerian context, is, I think we already alluded to it earlier, where, you know, you happen to have girls, or you happen to have boys, or you happen to have a mix of both. Some of these abusers are so disgusting that they will be agitating for the separation of siblings.
By gender.
Exactly. You keep the girls and give me my sons. Do you get what I mean? If, like me, we are not unfortunate in Jesus' name. If you are like me and you now have all boys, again, I say it, I already know, like, if I had all girls, the way these people were there beating their chests like King Kong, about my children that they did not care about before. But it's because I had all boys. That is why they are willing to buck against culture, willing to buck against the natural order of things.
Truth. Willing to buck against truth.
Willing to inflict trauma on vulnerable, tiny human beings. A baby under one.
Snatched from his mother's breast.
Just because I happen to have 3 boys. And that's the one that concerns them. Like, again, when you decide you're going to leave an abusive relationship, you have to just buckle up for some of the worst things you've ever seen in this life. Or some of the worst things you will ever see in this life. It is at this point in time that you will see it actually. So that is what it looks like. Extreme cases like mine where you are completely cut off from access to your own children, people you birthed, people you have nurtured and taken care of since they were babies. Okay? There's that. Then there's the instance where, okay, fine, you manage to actually have your children with you. Then the parental alienation is, okay, every time they go and see daddy, they come back and you don't even recognize who they are or what they are saying. You know, you have
to course correct every time.
You have to course correct every time they go and have access with their dad. They come back and it's a complete mess. Okay? They call it, in the research when they're saying when co-parenting with abusers or abusive people, toxic people, they call it, you don't co-parent actually, because what they do is they counter-parent. That's the term they put it. They counter-parent. So everything, and these abusers, because they're always trying to get at you. They're always trying to punish you for leaving the relationship. So they will use your children as weapons. So they spent all these years with you. They know the way in which things run in the household. They understand. Don't even think they didn't know. Even though they did not lift a finger to help, they were observing. They were seeing how things were running. They saw the schedule. They saw, okay, this is the bedtime. This is that. The moment you leave the relationship, and now the children have access to their partner when you are not there to enforce anything, they will purposely be counter-parenting. Everything that they know is the routine, is the set schedule. This is when we do homework. This is when we go to bed. That is when the man will purposely change everything up, make sure nothing happens. Okay, mommy, when we're with mommy is insistent that, we speak with kindness to each other. We don't use curse words, things like that. You'll be surprised. It is at that point in time, after you've left your relationship now, your children will start using curse words. They will start picking up things that ordinarily doesn't happen under your roof. And that is when you can, those are some of the signs that your your supposed co-parent is counter-parenting. They're warping their minds. They're making sure that they're doing things that they know isn't really within the agreed, basically they just make sure that they're doing things that they know will frustrate you. Most of the time they're trying to get a rise out of you, but you just have to stay firm and just, once your children get back to you, you just do the gentle work of correcting them, okay? And putting them back on track. And you just have to, no matter the number of times you find yourself correcting undoing all the damage, you just have to keep doing it. You don't get tired. But those are just the ways in which parental alienation pops up.
Another thing is them, this is where like the actual overt brainwashing happens, especially when parents tragically have to separate because of the abuse. Then, you send your children over for a visitation, and they're there telling the parent that, oh yes, your mother hates you. She's neglecting you and abandoning you. This hurt that you feel as a result of the separation, yes, mommy wants to, that kind of
blaming you for the breakdown of the relationship.
Right.
That is because of mommy that this is like this, I didn't want this to happen to you, but it's mommy that did this.
Right. Or coaching them, like we said, like with the Osinachi, situation, like coaching them to abuse you in a similar fashion in which they would, while you guys were still together. So, suddenly you have your children back and they're calling you names that they only heard from the other partner, lashing out at you, all that stuff, doing things on command of the abusive parent, being manipulated by that. Like we said, this thing is child abuse, and it is actually criminal conduct to engage in it, because the damage is devastating and long lasting.
To be honest, again, when we say counting the costs of living an abusive relationship, these are some of the things that you will have to just count the cost. And you just have to do the hard work of not giving up on your children. I have read the stories of women and even children themselves that parental alienation was done on them. And I'm not here to alarm you, but it was tough. Those years where that alienating parent was counter-parenting, was warping minds, was being toxic, those years were tough, and it was very hurtful to the children. It was very hurtful to the other parents to have to be dealing with the backlash from their children, the unwarranted backlash, that they know that, oh, my child doesn't have this experience of me. Why do they keep treating me like this? And it was because of the actions of the alienating parents. But what you would just have to do, you just have to dig deep and stay the course. The research that I've seen, the alienating parent, that's the one nugget of truth you can always hold on to. The alienating parent never gets away with it. It doesn't matter how long it takes. I have to admit, some cases are much longer than others. But children always grow up. Children always grow up. And by the time their eyes open, the way they look at that parent that did that thing, a lot of children have, when you see stories on Reddit or things like that, of children cutting off parents. This is what we mean. Like, don't play in this arena, especially you, when you find that your partner is doing this thing to you. Don't try and do it back. Do you get what I mean? Don't try and, you just focus on being the good parents that you are, the loving parents that you are, and rely on that to see you through. If you try and do this with the alienating parents, then it is the two of you, when that child grows up, that will now get the full brunt of their anger. But you just stay the course with your child and don't give up. You will see that in the end, it will turn out. So I'm not going to pretend that this is the easiest thing. It is not easy. I'm currently in it and it is tough, but stay the course. I think as for someone like me, I'm a very spiritual person. I say this all the time. I'm a person of faith. I believe in karma. Yes, I do. And there's something in the Bible that says, the angels of children are forever. They are in the presence of God. So for me, when it comes to children, I don't ever joke around with children. not my children, not anybody's children. Because the thing that will be waiting for you in front when you try this kind of nonsense, nobody will be able to save you from it. It is just a fact. This is just what I believe to be true. So, if you are on the receiving end, stay the course and don't play in this arena. No matter how long this person plays in this arena, just trust that you will get through and you will come out on the other end. So, in doing this, part of what I will just tell you is, you just focus on living your best life. Whether your children are with you, whether they are not with you. Focus on living your best life, pouring into yourself all the years, all the trauma that abuser took from you. You have a lot of catching up to do with enjoyment. A lot of catching up to do, my dear.
Self-life.
You have to, that Jaye life, you need to dive headfirst into it and fill your cup till it's overflowing. Okay? All the travel you need to do it. All the outside you need to do. Do that one too on top. Yes, I'm encouraging you. Do bad things. Go outside and do it. Everything you need to do to be your full self again, do it. Because here's one thing I promise you, your children are going to get back in your midst. Okay, your children are going to grow up and you're going to have a beautiful, fulfilling relationship with them. You will have every opportunity to right every wrong. You will have every opportunity to correct any nonsense narrative that some ignoramus and foolish person and their family has decided to pour into your children. You will have every opportunity. So I promise you, just live your best life, boss up, because your children are going to need you. You have intimate knowledge of how abusive that person is. Intimate, you know very, very well. So you have a heart for what your children probably have to go through every time they are in this person's midst. So that is why you need to fill yourself back up, because you need to be the one pouring into them. You need to be the one pouring all that love, all that support into them to heal every hurt, heal every wound that is likely to be inflicted on them. Okay? And bossing up, especially in terms of your resources, because as you know, these ignoramuses, they're usually financially abusive too as well. So your children are going to need you to show up for them in that area of finances. So build your life, build wealth for yourself and your children, and just trust, okay, that the time is going to come for you to show up as the superwoman that you are in their lives, and you're going to have the hands, you're going to have the resources, you're going to have everything to carry them through. Okay? So you just stay the course and just know that all will be well. Okay? Live your best life right now.
I think in addition to what Bebe has said here, which is, again, you escaped with your life, so build it back up, pour into yourself, build yourself physically, emotionally, and financially so that they can be ready so that when you do reunite, when that reunion comes along, you're ready for them. So in addition to everything that she has said, one of the things that I would encourage warriors to do, as we often do on this channel, is to shatter the silence. This serves as timestamp documentation along the way, before you do reunite with the children, so that when they do grow old enough, when you do meet again, or even before you meet again, if they search you up or if they look you up, they can see how you have been fighting for them by telling the truth, by telling your truth, so that that goes a long way in countering the brainwashing, because then they can come to understand your side of the story. So where one parent is telling them, oh, your mother hates you and she neglected you and she wanted absolutely nothing to do with you, if they're able to see that what you speaking about your story, you speaking about your experiences,
how you fight for them,
about your fight for them, it's there and it's historical for them to see that along the way. Yes, in 2019, this was happening in 2020, in 2021. They can see all the timestamps of, of, of you doing your mothering, which is pouring into yourself, getting the gunk out, telling the story so that the truth is out there, shining the light on all the shadows that the abuser has tried to, put over their eyes and put in their head. And again, it's not something you're compelled to do, but it's something that we do encourage.
You know what? Even if you don't do all of this out in the public the way we are doing it, where we have a YouTube channel, things like that, even if it's just a family newsletter, you type these things out and you send it out to people in your family, people that look like, even if anything were to ever happen to you, these people can always bring out all this documentation and show your children that look at what your mom did for you. Look at how she was fighting for you. These are things you can do. There's even something that I forgot to mention. You carry your children in your heart. There's something about the power of a mother that no bastard can ever counter. You carry your children in your heart. You pray for them. I'm a person of faith again. Even if you don't pray, just keep sending goodwill to them. You call them by their name, the name that you gave them. And you keep sending goodwill to them. You keep praying for them, okay? For me, I carry my children. I wear, I have so many mommy necklaces. I wear this one. It has their birthstones on them. I have one that has their names on them. I'm going to get tatted very soon with their names on my body. You carry them with you and you just keep pouring into them from wherever you may be. You pray for them. You pour into them. You call them by their name, okay? If you're uncomfortable, because some of us, we have trauma with the names our children were given. So you find some other names and you use those names to just keep pouring and just directing good energy, good vibes, covering protection over your children. For those of you that are Harry Potter fans like me, you saw what Lily did to protect her baby. That mother energy, that mother spirit, you wrap your child in it. Nothing can happen to them, okay? So that's just what you have to do. You just fortify yourself, you fortify your spirit, you fortify the spirit of your children, and you carry them with you, and you would be the covering and the protection for them. Because let me tell you this, the fact that you left that abusive relationship, and even if you're even still in it and you're fighting for your soul, you're a warrior. You're worrying for yourself, you're worrying for your children. That's not something to joke with at all. That is something that the abuser can never, in his bastard life, ever have the courage to do, because as we know, abusers are at the fundamentals, they are cowards. That's what they are. So you, the badass bee that you have already done the hard work. You're a warrior, so you just keep going in that fight. We don't give up, okay?
I think that that about ends it for this topic. Let's wrap it up here. We hope that you've been able to learn something from this. We hope that if there are any warriors who are going through this, our hearts go out to you. We definitely understand. We definitely commiserate. And we're definitely behind you in spirit with your fight. Feel free to share your stories with us, like, share, and subscribe. As always, here at the Warrior Enclave, we see you, we believe you, we hear you.
All right then. Bye,
Bye,
y'all.
warriors.
Keep on fighting.